Hello, and welcome to the This Happened Today in History podcast. I am your host, Mr. Miller. This podcast will cover a number of topics that happened on this date in history. Please visit the podcast webpage at thishappenedtoday.buzzsprout.com. There you can download the notes page, which will help you organize the information as well as develop your own ideas on how these events change the world around us. If you're interested in hearing more, please consider subscribing so you will not miss out on what happens tomorrow in history. Today is June 28th. Mike Tyson earned his name and fame as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time. With his skills, Tyson ended up becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history when he defeated Trevor Berbick at the age of 19 in 1986. Despite being a master of his game, Tyson's life is always surrounded by controversies, and one of them happened in 1997, which cost him his boxing license. Tyson reclaimed his heavyweight belts following the release from federal jail in 1995 and subsequently scheduled a fight with Evander Holyfield. Holyfield was a clean-living, devout ex-heavyweight champion from Georgia who was regarded as Tyson's greatest heavyweight opponent after number one rival Lennox Lewis. While Holyfield had retired in 1994, he was drawn back to the ring because of a large paycheck. On November 9, 1996, the underdog Holyfield stunned the boxing world by defeating Tyson in an 11th round TKO to capture Tyson's WBA championship. This visibly made Tyson upset, and he wanted to give his best in a rematch against Holyfield on June 28th of 1997. However, Tyson ended up being disqualified after he twice bit his opponent's ears. He also lost his boxing license to this event. Talking about the incident last year, Tyson told Jim Gray in an interview that the intentions behind biting the ear was to kill Holyfield in the heat of the moment. The anger came because of all the head bumping. Tyson said, "I really lost consciousness of the whole fight. It took me out of my fight plan and everything." Needless to say, Tyson was also upset about the fact that Holyfield was leading the opening 2 rounds of their fight. For biting the ear once, Tyson faced a 2-point deduction. However, when he bit Holyfield on the other ear, he was disqualified for his actions. Following the bout, Tyson's life took a series of bad turns, culminating in his filing for bankruptcy, in part owing to $400,000 per year spent on keeping a flock of pet pigeons and an arrest for cocaine use. And then in 1960, a Welsh pit blast killed a bunch of miners. At least 37 men have been killed in a gas explosion at a coal mine in Monmouthshire, Wales. Another 8 miners are trapped, feared dead, after the incident at Six Bells Colliery in 1,000 feet below the surface. They include 2 fathers, each with their 2 sons. 6 teams of rescuers were quickly assembled after the alarm was raised, but their progress was hampered by roof falls triggered by the explosion and the large amount of gas still present at the time. A spokesman for the National Coal Board said there was little hope of finding survivors in the arbitrary colliery, but the search for missing men would continue. There were 700 people underground in the 70-year-old pit at the time of the blast. Miner Harold Legge told reporters he was about a half mile from the coal face when he heard a roar and saw a terrific flash about 10:45 BST. "I had a job to breathe and I stumbled to the pit bottom through the dust. Afterwards, I discovered there was a young man killed 20 yards away," he said. As reports of the accident spread, crowds of local people gathered at the pit head, anxious for more news about friends and relatives. Six Bells is one of the largest Monmouthshire and employs 1,450 people, many of them from Aberdare. A great many of them lived in town, and several more lived in one small street, said one woman. In context, none of the 8 men were rescued, and the final number of dead in the accident was 45. The UK coal industry has claimed thousands of lives since the first collieries were opened in the early 1700s. The Six Bells tragedy was one of the last big mining disasters in the country. An investigation concluded the likely cause of the explosion was from a buildup of coal gas ignited by a spark from a falling stone. And finally, in 1838, Queen Victoria was crowned on June 28th at age 19. The ceremony took 5 hours and suffered from a lack of rehearsal. No one except for the Queen and Lord John Tyne, the sub-dean of Westminster acting for the dean, knew what should be happening. The coronation ring was painfully forced onto her wrong finger, and Lord Rolle, an elderly peer, fell down the steps while making his homage to the Queen. A confused bishop wrongly told her that the ceremony was over and that she had to come back to her seat to finish the service. In her journal, Victoria recorded the events of the day, calling it the proudest of my life. The red footstool she used at this ceremony can be seen in the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Galleries. A music festival to celebrate the coronation was held in the Abbey on the 2nd of July before the special seating was removed. Alexandria Victoria was the only child of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, a son of George III, and his wife, Princess Victoria. She was born at Kensington Palace on May 24th of 1819 and succeeded to the throne in 1837 after the death of William IV. When her husband died in 1861, she was so stricken with grief that she wore a mourning for the rest of her life and refused to undertake any public engagements for many years, earning herself the nickname the Widow of Windsor. During her reign, the British Empire reached the height of its prestige, and she was proclaimed Empress of India in 1877. She celebrated a golden jubilee in the Abbey in 1887, during which she sat in the coronation chair. Her diamond jubilee was held at St. Paul's Cathedral. She died on January 22, 1901, at her residence, Osborne House, on the Isle of Wight, and was buried beside Albert on the Royal Mausoleum at Frogmore on the grounds of Windsor Castle. She was succeeded by her son, Edward VII. A memorial service for her was held in the Abbey on the 2nd of February. You have been listening to the This Happened Today in History podcast. I thank you for listening, and I hope that you have enjoyed learning about historical events from the past. Thank you to the following websites for their information regarding today's topics: ThePeopleHistory.com, The Great Britain Mining Disaster at news.bbc.co.uk, Queen Victoria's Coronation at www.westminster-abbey.org, and Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield at www.news18.com. The music used as the background track for this podcast is Americana, created by Kevin MacLeod on Incompetech.com. If you enjoyed this information and would like to hear more, please consider subscribing, as this will keep the historical events in your feed in the morning for each day. I hope you have a great day.